Hey everybody, welcome to A Fistful of Dice. I'm Matt, and I'm going to go ahead and do the double ot tag that I saw Andrew do, and Andrew did it as well on the Don Forgecast channel. So it's kind of a fun little tag where you have 10 sort of attributes that you stat on a scale of 1 to 100, 1 being kind of like not at all, 50 being kind of the average, and 100 being like totally off the charts. So let's just dive right into it, and I'll have the tags below if anyone else wants to do it. But the first thing is stamina. How long can you game? How long can you stay in character, keep rolling the dice, keep thinking, keep strategizing, either as a player or as a GM? For me, I'm going to put myself at about a 75 here. I game every Sunday for about 6 to 7 hours, sometimes longer than that. But for me, I need breaks. I need, 15 minutes here or there to step away from the table and, get a drink, step out on the porch, get some fresh air, just kind of sit down someplace else for a little bit, or, walk around the apartment. And I usually schedule about 2 or 3 breaks in our sessions to do this, but I can game for a long time, and I have gamed for long periods of time, but I do need some breaks here and there to avoid burnout and having my brain turn to mush. So, and GMing is a lot more of a mental strain for me than playing, so as a player I'm able to sit and play for longer stretches of time than I am as a GM. So. The next one is immersive. How immersive are you? How stringent are you about staying in character? How stringent are you about staying on task and staying within the world that you've set up? I'm gonna put myself at an 80 here. I'm a big fan of staying in character, of keeping the immersion total for the players when I'm GMing, and as a player I love to stay in character. Even if I'm not, actively speaking or doing things like that, if I'm just sort of observing what other players are doing, I'll kind of have facial expressions, what my character would do. I'll make little aside comments to other characters at the table. So, but I'm totally not opposed to out-of-character chatter when appropriate. Obviously, if the GM is speaking, I'm very stringent on that. No OOC chatter if the GM is speaking. I think that's just disrespectful. And but that for me, like tabletop gaming is fun because there's a lot more going on at the table than just the game. You're hanging out with your friends, and maybe these are friends that you don't see except for gaming. So obviously you're going to want to talk about other things, and there are plenty of opportunities in a game to do that. If there's a lull in the action, if somebody's getting up and getting a drink or something, totally not opposed to out-of-character chatter and joking and having fun. If you've got a GM that's really stringent on everyone staying in character, I mean, there is some benefit to that, and there's some reward in doing that. But I also think it can get a little tiresome to have to do that. So. As fun and as immersive as it is still a game, and you have to make sure that you have fun in and out of the game. So, yeah, I'll put myself at about an 80 for immersion. The next one is Rollplaya, spelled Rollplaya, which is basically how much are you into the stats of the game? How much are you into rolling and killing stuff and acquiring treasure and experience? Basically, how into the grind are you? I come from a background of playing video games and playing games like Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter Nights, where there is very little sort of role play involved in those games. Obviously, you are playing a character, but for the most part, you're playing to defeat enemies and acquire treasure and complete quests and things like that. So, but tabletop-wise, I'm going to put myself at about a 75. I love killing things. I love being useful in combat situations. I love coming up with cool things to do with my abilities and different spells and things like that that I have at my disposal. And I love being tactical and creative, and you know, blowing through the enemies. And I do take some satisfaction out of, you know, killing a particularly tough enemy or getting through a particularly tough encounter, getting that experience, getting that loot. Obviously, there's some reward in that. I do find roleplay and roleplay interactions more rewarding, but there is nothing wrong with little hack and slash. Number 4 is prep. How much work do you put into the games? Can I go over 100? No. I'll put myself at about a 90 here, and I'll tell you why. I put a lot of prep into my games. I prepare playlists of music. I pre-build most of the maps that I'm going to be using. I print out item cards and NPC cards, and all of the monsters that the party's going to be facing. I have little monster cards. So I do a lot of prep work. But much like Andrew on Don Forgecast said, you know, my prep time, or the amount of time that I put into preparing, definitely dwindles towards the middle of the campaign. So at the beginning of the campaign, you know, I'm really psyched to be GMing, really excited about the campaign, and I want to have the players have as much fun as possible, have as much immersion as possible. Sorry, my cat's meowing in the background. I put almost too much time into it. I sort of kill myself with how much prep and work I put into it. I mean, you know, this here, these are some notes from the first session of my most recent campaign. I've sort of got it laid out like a pre-built module with sort of boxes for description that I can read, and just all kinds of notes, you know. And I as the campaign goes on, this becomes less and less of a thing, and all of a sudden I've just got, you know, some notes written for what I need to happen in the campaign. And then as we get towards the finale of a campaign, that prep work definitely steps it up a bit, because I want the campaign to go out with a bang. So yeah, so I'll put myself at about a 90 there, because even though I do put a ton of effort and preparation into the games, it does sort of dwindle towards the plateau of the campaign, so to speak. And as a player, for prep, I always come prepared with any spell cards that I need. I know what my character can do. You know, I feel confident that I'm not going to have to ask the GM too many questions about the mechanics of something. So, but for the most part, as a player, I don't do a ton of prep. You know, I just show up and let the GM run the show. So, number 5 is, how much are your characters like you? You know, I don't like to play myself because I don't find myself that interesting of a person, but there are aspects of me in all of my characters. So I'm gonna say 70 on this one. And the reason why is because a friend actually pointed this out to me, somebody in my gaming group, that every single one of my characters is a loner in some respects. Either they've been alone for a while, they're more comfortable on their own, they've never been with a party before, they're solitary. And for the most part, they were happy in their solitude. And for me, personally, I am a bit of a loner. Obviously, I have a big group of friends that I enjoy hanging out with, but I am a bit of an introvert, and that's not to say that I'm antisocial or anything like that, but I really enjoy my time to myself and my quiet time. So, and I'm very much like you know, I can handle things on my own type of guy. So in that respect, a lot of my characters have echoes of me pretty prominently. So, but beyond that, a lot of my characters are very different. They tend to be very stoic as well, for the most part. But you know, I don't know. Like most players, my characters run the gambit. So, yeah, to some extent they're like me, but a lot of the times they're not. Number 6 is the enforcer. How much are you policing the table, basically? How much are you saying, hey, guys, you know, shut up, the GM's talking, or, you know, hey, can we get back on task here? Or hey, don't talk about that at the table or whatever. For me, I'm going to put this at about a 60. I don't like to be a hard ass at the table, and obviously there's a time and place for kind of dropping the hammer. But you know, if I'm not GMing, I tend to not butt my head in. I really feel like it's the GM's job to sort of control the table. But if I do notice that the GM is sort of getting frustrated or having trouble with the situation, I may step in and say something. But beyond that, if I'm not the GM, I'm not really doing much enforcing. So number 7 is the Showman, flamboyant or entertaining characters. Okay, so let's see here. You know what? I don't play a lot of flamboyant or entertaining characters as a player. As a GM, dude, I love my crazy NPCs. I love creating interesting NPCs, having voices for them, having distinct looks for them. I'm a big fan of physical characteristics that stick out in the player's mind. NPCs that are missing an eye, NPCs that are that have a certain hairstyle that sticks out. I usually try to pick one very prominent physical characteristics for each one of my NPCs so that they're easy to remember. So, for example, in my last campaign, there were three Rakshasa that were basically the leaders of these clans in this city. One of them was an albino. One of them had steel teeth like Jaws from James Bond, and one of them was a panther Rakshasa. So he was a little bit different looking. He had, you know, black sleek fur instead of tiger or lion looking. So I try to pick things that are distinctive about them, and I carry that through in their voice and their mannerisms. Each one of my NPCs is very different and memorable, I hope. So in terms of the Showman, as the GM, I am a showman, but as a player, not as much. So the Fumbler, keeping games going, and what this means is like consistency of the group meeting. My group is really good at this. It's very rare that someone won't show up. We game every Sunday, and if somebody is not going to be able to make it, we plan for it. We are a very tight-knit group, and unless we feel that we can get by without that player, if there are 1 or 2 players that can't make it at a certain weekend, we just take a break. We just take a week off. And I find that that's actually good. It helps prevent burnout. It keeps everyone excited about gaming. It's really fun to come back to it after you take a week or 2 off. So it's not often that we do breaks, but once every few months, you know, we might feel that we're due for a break. So we'll take a week or 2 off just to sort of recharge our batteries. But beyond that, we're extremely consistent. Number 9 is the Bard, music or pictures. 95 to 100 on this one. Like I've said in previous videos, I always have music going. I use this little Altec speaker with my iPod, and I just kind of have quiet music going. I have a lot of atmospheric tracks that I have going during sort of quiet roleplay moments, tavern music for when they're in the taverns, and lots of different battle music. I try to steer away from recognizable songs because I find that breaks immersion and takes players out of things. So I'm not going to be playing the Bridge of Khazad-dûm song from the Lord of the Rings soundtrack, but I'm a big fan of Jeremy Soule, who does the soundtracks for a lot of BioWare games. He did Neverwinter Nights, Knights of the Old Republic. He did all of the, well, he did Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim. And he's done Total Annihilation and stuff like that. Really great composer with really good battle tracks and things like that. So if you're looking for kind of some good, just versatile music to use in your game, definitely check out Jeremy Soule. His last name is S-O-U-L-E. So, and then picture-wise, yeah, I love... Here, I have these NPC cards that I pass out to my players whenever they encounter a PC or an NPC, and then I keep them, you know, in the folder. I always have a manila folder with all of the campaign notes in it, and I just keep all of these in there so that when the players encounter that NPC again, they can they you know, they say, oh, who's that guy again, and I just, you know, pass the NPC card, and they go, oh yeah 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 yeah. So. And then I also have like item cards for important quest items that they may be holding on to for a while. So I put a lot of work into pictures and music and making sure that there are as many visual and audio components as possible to create a complete world. Okay, the final one is the challenger. Setting challenges for yourself and your players, taking on new systems, and taking on big subjects, things like that. I am of the opinion that if you are passionate about something, you should constantly be improving your skill at it. Gaming is one of those things. I am constantly looking for new challenges and ways that I can become a better GM and a better player. And that's one of the big reasons I've also made this channel, is pushing myself to think about gaming in different ways, think about my own style of GMing and playing, and setting goals for myself. I love trying out new systems. I love testing new products, and you know, dungeon tiles, maps, miniatures, just trying different things to improve the game as a whole, and investing a lot of time and, frankly, money into this hobby that I've sort of taken into my life. So, but I'm a big fan of setting challenges for myself, personally. And then within the game, yeah, challenges are fun. You don't want to bog the players down with too many tough encounters, but you know, how fun is it to blow through every encounter? You have to set challenges. You have to put tough decisions in front of your players and tough encounters. So, but yeah, that's the end of this little tag video. A lot of fun to do this. So I'm gonna put the 10 tags down below. So yeah, interested to hear everyone else's ratings on these things. So, oh, did I say a rating for the Challenger? I'll say 80. I'll say 90 on this one because I'm a big proponent of improving yourself. So, anyway, that's it for me. So, take care, everybody. Happy gaming.